All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining again. Hopefully, welcome back if you've been here the last few days, but thank you for joining the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection, Social Connection Awareness Week Summit Day 4. Again, my name is Suzanne Morley, Health Promotion Program Coordinator with the Wisconsin Institute for Healthy Aging, or WIHA, and coordinator of Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection. Today's conversation is all about intergenerational connections and bringing people of all ages together to reduce social isolation and loneliness and improve connections throughout the state. Few housekeeping pieces. All of the participants will be muted and have their cameras off during the presentation. If you would like to access the live captioning, please click on the CC screen on the bottom toolbar of your screen. This webinar is being recorded and an email will be sent out to all of the registered participants after the presentation. We will have some time for Q&A after our speakers, so please hold questions until the designated Q&A portion of the webinar. To get us started today, I encourage everyone again to introduce yourself in the chat with your name, your organization, if you're attending as part of an organization. And icebreaker question for today is, who has had the most positive impact on you that is from a different generation? So I'll give some time for some of those responses to come through while I answer that myself. When I think of people from different generations, I've had a lot of great mentors, but the one person that I consistently go back to is one of my coworkers from my previous job, who, when I first met her, she was in her early 60s, I believe. So I've known her 7 or so years now, but she kind of became my work mom. And after I left that position and we kind of went our separate ways, continued to stay in touch with her. So she's still a regular part of my life. So I'll just give some time for those chats to start coming through. I see volunteers, my parents, grandmother, lots of life lessons and delicious recipes. Feel free to drop some of those in the chat too. Grandpa, grandparents, dad, who was a Depression child, a World War II vet, grandparents, grandmother, the reason you're at Marquette, awesome. Grandmother who lived with dementia and influenced my career path. Grandparents, more grandparents, they lived with you growing up. Godmother, many of the older adults I work with that share so many of their nuggets of experience. My elders. Edna Lonergan, who founded the center. Thanks for sharing, Lori. Grandparents. Lots of impacts from grandparents, I see. Continue to introduce yourselves in the chat, and I'll go through the agenda for today's webinar. So we have a few different great speakers that we have to talk about different intergenerational programs. We'll have some time for Q&A, like I said. We'll do some discussion on something a little bit different today and then wrap up. I wanted to start by talking again about why it matters, why we're having this conversation today. So the data on the screen here is from the U.S. Surgeon General's report. Erin is going to drop the link for that in the chat. We've talked about that a few times this week. But the highest rates of social isolation are found among older adults, but we also know that young adults are almost 2 times as likely to report feeling lonely than older adults. Loneliness and social isolation among children and adolescents increase the risk of depression and anxiety. And social isolation and loneliness has been shown to increase the likelihood of depression or anxiety in older adults. When we're talking about young adults, that's 18 to 24. And then additionally, loneliness and social isolation among children and adolescents, so ages 9 to 18, increase the risk of depression and anxiety. And that risk remained high even up to 9 years later. So social connection seems to really protect against depression, even in people with a higher probability of developing the condition. And research shows that diversifying social relationships to include connections with people who are outside of your group, as well as connections between people of differing power status in your community, are also associated with an improved community health and well-being. So examples of these type of relationships include cultivating intergenerational friendships. We know that youth connect in a number of different ways, so through family, friends, and peers, school, community and cultural identity, and supportive adults. So within families, Research shows that when older adults help their children and grandchildren, they experience mental and physical health benefits. And these benefits can include increased feelings of usefulness, self-esteem, mental health, and overall self-rated health. So even among older adults with functional disabilities like vision loss or mobility impairment, giving emotional support to younger family members is pretty common. So this type of support can be deeply meaningful to both parties and might even explain why older adults with disabilities actually report more positive physical and mental benefits than those without disabilities when they engage in intergenerational support. We also know that research shows that young people who have a meaningful relationship with a non-parental adult, like an aunt or an uncle, a sports coach, or a minister, are more likely to do better in school, display less risky problem behaviors, be more independent, and have fewer depressive symptoms than those without. Among youth who do have these relationships, the quality definitely matters as well. So young people who experience more warmth, closeness, and acceptance from adults around them have better outcomes. And these relationships seem to be the most impactful for at-risk youth who face barriers to success due to resources in their family or their community. So for example, from the Trevor Project, LGBTQ youth have at least one accepting adult, were 40% less likely to attempt suicide. So there's definitely impacts for not only the older adults, but also the young adults who are having those intergenerational connections. If you're interested in youth and loneliness, you can find more resources from the Wisconsin Office of Children's Mental Health. And Erin is going to drop the link and email for the Wisconsin Office for Children's Mental Health in the chat. I'm going to pass it over now to Stacy Barnes and Kaylin Vine from Marquette University to talk about their intergenerational student housing program. So take it away.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Dr. Stacy Barnes. I'm an associate professor at Marquette University's College of Nursing, and I'm joined today by Kaylin Vine, who is a doctoral candidate in the Department of Psychology at Marquette. We're going to be briefly just giving you an introduction to our Students in Residence program, which is a new initiative that we are hosting with St. Camillus Life Plan Community. So we'll tell you a little bit about the program, and then Kaylin's going to describe her experiences as a student who is living amongst 650 older adults. Next slide, please. So this program was launched just a couple years ago in 2022. We had planned to start it sooner, but the pandemic hit and it was not a possibility. So it's just launched in the 22-23 academic year. We are inviting students from Marquette University to live in a retirement community year round. So they get a private apartment and they live amongst 650 older adults. And in exchange for low rent and other benefits, those students are required to volunteer at least 8 hours a week. So we'll talk a little bit about how they spend their time in just a moment. In total, we've had 10 students participate. The first inaugural year, we had 3 students. And then we moved to a much larger number the second year with 6 students. And then this year we have 4 students. So some of them have overlapped, but 10 unique students in total. So one of the things that we did not anticipate, we thought this would be a 1-year program, but it has been so wildly successful from everyone's standpoint that the students want to stay longer than a year, and the residents say don't make them leave because we form bonds with them, we are close to them, and we want them to stay longer. So we've had some students stay for 2 years and a couple of them stay for 3 years. So that was unexpected. At this point, they've all been graduate students. Those 10 students are all graduate students. We envisioned this program initially to be open to the entire campus, and I really was thinking that it was going to be mostly undergraduates that applied. I was wrong again. Some of our assumptions are not playing out, and they've all been graduate students. And to be honest, this is a much better fit. Undergraduate students have housing requirements at our university where they have to live on campus. They have a different social life, a different maturity level, etc. And so our graduate students really have been a perfect fit with this. As you can see from this listing on the slide, they come from a wide variety of majors. They're all pursuing master's degree and PhDs in a variety of different disciplines, and we ask them to do their volunteer hours either in an area that they personally are interested in, or that they somehow connect to their particular degree that they're pursuing at Marquette. Next slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. So those of you who are unfamiliar with St. Camillus, it is the largest single site life plan community in the state of Wisconsin. So they have the full continuum of services from independent living all the way through hospice at the end of life. So you can see the campus here pictured. It is fairly large. It consists of multiple buildings. The students live in the oldest independent living section, which is the tall building on the top right corner of the image. In total, the campus has over 650 older adults. It is run by the Chameleon Order, which is a religious order of the Catholic faith that is focused on the care of the sick. This was purposely chosen as our partner because, in part because the religious order, Marquette University is a Jesuit university, and the Jesuits are the religious order that of the Catholic faith that focuses on education. So it is kind of a kindred spirit, if you will. Next slide, please. So we have found that the program has had overwhelming success during these first few years. We've had more benefits and more positive praise coming from literally everyone than we anticipated. So on the left-hand side, the residents have told us, and these are all from open-ended responses, open-ended comments that people have made to either myself or formally in kind of some feedback sessions that I've held. The residents have said, well, there are a lot more activities. They're just nonstop going on all the time. Also, some of them have said, well, it gets me out of my apartment. And so most of the activities take place in the independent living sections. We tried last year an experiment in our second cohort to require a couple of the students actually do their hours of activities and social programming in the assisted living and memory care areas. And that did not work out so well, to be honest. Those are not that calling is not for everyone. Let's just say that. And I think so much the students had difficulty forming close relationships with some of those residents. Not saying that it can't be worked out, but just saying I think requiring it was not the way to go. So we've now made it this year. This is our third cohort of students that are living there. And we've simply made it an option for them that they can provide their volunteer hours anywhere on campus, including memory care, the skilled nursing facility, the assisted living apartments, anywhere they would like. For the residents, they also say, of course, it reduced some of their loneliness, particularly people that are new to the campus. They find it a bit overwhelming at first, and not only the students, but the residents also. So connecting with people is really a strong benefit. And of course, so many of the residents talk about the intergenerational stimulation. Oh, it's great to have some young people around, and they've really enjoyed that stimulation and energy that the students provide. From the students' perspective, and Kaylin's going to talk about more of her personal experience in just a moment, but they get low rent. It's very close to campus, so it's about 5 miles away. They get their own private apartment, just like they were renting any other apartment. But it does provide kind of a large extended family for them. Many of the students talk about, oh, it's just so great. I feel like I'm surrounded by hundreds of grandparents. They talk about how positive it is that to recognize people in the dining rooms and to eat meals with them and have someone to talk to. And the students have bonded with each other and with the residents, which is really beautiful. And I think one of the unexpected outcomes that I did not anticipate when we started this was that some of the students, particularly graduate students, can be rather isolated. Graduate school is not like undergraduate. You're not living amongst, generally, you're not living amongst the dorms. And some of the graduate students, are just disconnected. We found that was really true with a couple of the international students, that they don't have family or friends around, and they're working on their research for their PhD, and they've got a lot of clinical hours, and so they kind of were isolated also. Graduate school is not a real social time, so the reduced isolation and social disconnection is really another benefit to the students. The host site has said, oh, this is fabulous. They love the program because, number one, they're filling some empty apartments. The students are living in the older section of campus, and so they are taking up otherwise empty apartments. It does provide some income for the facility, although it should be noted that it is a loss. The students are paying a fraction of what other residents would pay. So they do operate these apartments at a loss, but in my opinion, and the facility's opinion, some income is better than no income. Certainly, I think one of the biggest benefits is that the students supplement the staff. So St. Camillus is blessed with having some full-time people who work in life enrichment, but the students really supplement that and are able to expand, if you will, the workforce that are offering social programming, recreational activities, and health promotion programs. The other nice thing about that is that oftentimes the staff are working pretty traditional hours between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. During Monday through Friday work days, and the students are there all the time. They're living there, they're studying there, etc. So they're able to offer activities on the weekends and the evenings, and really supplement where the staff otherwise would not. So the students have had a ton of creative ideas. I'll show you in just a moment some of the activities that they've chosen to do. There is no requirement that they do a particular type of activity. They're just encouraged to work with the staff and offer up anything that they would like to offer. Certainly from the university's perspective, this provides student housing. It's an opportunity for for community engagement, and it's some great PR. Also an opportunity for students to do some service learning hours. Next slide. So these are just a few of the examples and a few of the students that have lived there. So you can see it is their choice. So they offer whatever the residents tell them they want, whatever the students are interested in. Some of them are as simple as like a watch party. You'll see like a Packers watch party or Marquette University basketball watch party. Those just to congregate and watch the game together and cheer on your favorite team are very popular. Some of the students have offered more educational programs that have to do with explaining a particular topic, explaining the mind, or talking about, in the bottom left-hand corner, emotion regulation strategies. Some of them have gotten creative about other types of watch parties, like, for example, bottom right-hand corner, on the slide, watching a film together, or maybe a series from Netflix. One of our students offered TED Talks and simply viewed a TED Talk with the audience and then had a discussion with people. The students have gotten incredibly creative with their activities. Some of them are as simple. In the top right corner of this slide, you can see one of our students in the left in his navy blue sweatshirt playing cards with some of the residents there. And playing games or cards or doing puzzles also is just another common and simple way for the students to interact on a daily basis. One of the other activities is some of the students do walking clubs. The facility is across the street from the Milwaukee County Zoo. And so they have done walking clubs. They've done this particular picture is from the Alzheimer's Walk to celebrate Alzheimer's awareness. And as you can see, sometimes it's with people in wheelchairs. Sometimes it's an actual fitness walking group. And it really takes a wide variety of forms. Next slide. Now I'll turn it over to one of our Marquette University students, Kaylin Vine. Kaylin?
Hi, again, yes, Kaylin Vine, PhD candidate in the Department of Psychology at Marquette, and also a student resident. So some of the experiences that I've had, I do run some of the events that Dr. Barnes had mentioned. But from those experiences, in addition to, sometimes I'll go to residents' apartments and hang out with them for a while, have dinner. I like to bake for folks a lot of times too. It really looks like a bunch of things. But I've been able to foster, right, these meaningful connections with some of the residents. And that's really been helpful for, right, like just a little disclosure, my grandparents had passed away. And so this has been really helpful to kind of get that connection back that I haven't had in a few years since they've been gone. And being able to learn from residents' unique life experiences, and again have that connection that has been missing in my life personally. I'll also say that through the different events and trying to make things accessible for folks, I've also been able to develop new skills, be able to teach folks about ways to use their phones or their Apple Watches and kind of problem solving from that front. But also, right, growing as a leader and trying to figure out, getting a tap into what folks want to experience with the students, and then being able to lead those projects, bring other students in. Like, for instance, this picture here on the top right is from Coffee and Connections. It's something that we host every Friday morning where we just have coffee and we just chat about anything and everything. And so that was an event that me and one other student have been involved in, and we've brought in other students, and the group has really grown to about like 30 people, and we just chat about different things. So this experience has also helped me to develop some new skills. And then something else that I didn't really expect to gain from this experience, just kind of promoting that intergenerational understanding, right? So dispelling the age-related stereotypes and building this respect between generations. And I've heard even from the residents' perspective that that's a shared sentiment as well. So I think that right, this experience has been super helpful for, in my own clinical practice, really understanding what it's like to work with older folks and how that the lessons that I'm learning from St. Camillus can be applied in that space as well. So that's been a blessing as well, I'll say. And then the last thing I'll just say from this experience, it's really impacted my sense of social responsibility, right? So again, I have this awareness or more awareness of the challenges that older adults really face, and wanting to include that information and in the way that I work with folks in some of my community work and in my clinical work and in my research as well. And so this is also given me insight into championing those perspectives in other spheres. And so I've been finding that to be really valuable from this experience as well.
Next slide. Thank you. Well, I think we're going to take questions at the end of all the presentations. So thank you for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you both, Stacy and Kaylin, for sharing about your experiences with the program. Sounds like an amazing opportunity for that intergenerational connections. Before we move on, Erin reminded me that we forgot to do our first poll, so we're going to launch that now. So which population benefits most from intergenerational care? Kids, adults, caregivers, or everybody? Leave that open for a few more seconds here. All right, 100% of people said everybody. Awesome. It wasn't a trick question. I think we've all been learning and will continue to learn that intergenerational care is great for everybody. So I'm going to pass it over now to Lori, who's the Director of Marketing and Fund Development at St. Anne Center for Intergenerational Care, to talk about the intergenerational care that St. Anne Center provides. Take it away, Lori.
Thank you so much, Suzanne, and thank you everyone for being here. That was a fascinating program, Stacy and Kaylin. Thank you so much. I had no idea that was going on, but I learned so much about it. I have some similar populations with that. We are more for the childhood, early childhood, and then the older adults, but also some young adults with disabilities. So I'm here today. I was going to bring a client with me. What we do is intergenerational care they can be young adults with disabilities. They could be older adults who might be suffering from dementia or just frail and unable to remember their medicines or otherwise unable to be left at home during the day. That was how we got our start. And Sister Edna was Lonergan, who was working with her order for care for her sisters in her congregation who were aging. She realized what she was doing there could benefit the community at large. Now, this is back in 1983, back before adult daycare was a thing or adult day programming. It just wasn't a concept. She realized that we could start this for the community and began with 4 clients back in 1983. And she soon found out when the schools were closed for the day, she lost a lot of her staff. They were off doing caring for their own children. So she was doing some out of the box thinking even before take your daughter to work became a thing. She had them bring them all along with them, and watched the friendships form. And that's when she decided she would someday build an intergenerational care center where the children could be there all day and the older adults could be there all day as well. And she did not only build one center, then she replicated and built a second one on Milwaukee's north side. So if I could see the first side, I think I had yes, one of the connections that we have, I'm just wanting to share this. I was so excited by this last week. This is Barry and Francine. They are 2 of our clients who got married last week, and it was just wonderful to be there. Tuesday afternoon, and we had our music therapist provided the music. We had our head of respite care was there. I was there to take a few pictures, and Francine was there with Barry, and the gentleman there on the left with the rose in his lapel. That is another client. He's not even Jewish, but he met Barry and Francine at the center. So they spend their days together there and form those bonds that are so important. Now, those aren't intergenerational bonds per se, but they are more social connection. So we also had Barry's proposal to Francine last year at St. Anne Center. We had an engagement party for them. You can find that on our TikTok, and I'll be talking about our TikTok a little bit later. So, okay, we can go into the presentation now, please. Yep, there's our logo. You'll notice that's that's different generations together there. And then the next slide, please. Okay, St. Anne Center you'll notice here the wide range in children and adults of different ages. These are our 2 campuses. The one on the left is the original campus. The one on the right is in the northern part of Milwaukee, which is, if any of you are familiar with the 53206 or 53205 zip code, that is one of the poorest in Milwaukee. So it was our mission to bring that to a neighborhood that could use those services and, quite frankly, the jobs. So We were excited to expand to see that we could do what we did at the first campus on again at the first one. And is it playing automatically? It must be.
Yeah, I
So
see that it is somehow.
it
So
has a mind of its
I
own.
don't know. Sorry about that. Let me know where to go back to. I don't know if I
Okay,
can.
yeah, if you could just go back, next one, and then the one after that. There we go. And then to the next slide. Okay, so what is intergenerational care? That is when you care for both children as a standard child care in a building, and you also have the adults. When we first started this had not been done here in Wisconsin, or for that matter, anywhere in the world. It was intentional. There were actually some state regulations that said you can't do that. You cannot have care for children and adults in the same under the same roof. We kind of thought of a way around that. I didn't. I wasn't here at the time. This is 1999. And when we built this building, Sister Edna deliberately had built one wing for childcare, one wing for adult care. Because regulations for childcare providers and adult care providers required that they each have outings several times a month, we just said, okay, we'll have them meet in this ginormous atrium that we have in the center, and they will interact there together. So we might have the symphony come out and play. We might have dance. We might have karaoke. We might have art projects in there. As time went on, the state got a little more understanding of what we were doing. And so now it's also common for an adult care unit, to have an interaction with children directly in their own unit or their own classroom. That was a slide you saw at the beginning with the parachute that was going on. They were doing one of those colorful parachutes, and they play games with that. So we have now both the opportunity for them to meet in the smaller situations and the larger campus-wide ones. And what that does is it forms the basis, just like in the Marquette and San Camillus program, where you have those small interactions on a regular basis. You get to know the people. One of the things, there's Barry right there. He was the one who was married. One of the reasons that I know Barry so well is that he seeks me out each day to tell me a new joke. So here's today's joke. Everybody knows that fish swim in schools, right? Did you know that some of those schools are medical schools? Probably not. And did you know why the medical schools, what the fish are doing in medical schools? They're studying to become sturgeons. So I know that's Barry, but that's the kind of small interaction that you have that lets you build that connection to somebody over time. And that's what we discovered. And this was a means of helping keep older adults stay in their own homes with their caregivers as long as possible, rather than putting them into nursing homes. At the time we started back in 1983, Wisconsin was leading the nation in premature nursing home institutionalizing, because maybe mom was going back to work, and mothers had been the traditional caregivers in families for years and years. My grandmother took care of, or no, my great grandmother took care of her mother-in-law for years and years. And then this wasn't a possibility as more women support their families financially. So they were putting them into nursing homes for reasons like, well, they can't take a bath, they can't take care of their personal hygiene anymore. So Sister Edna said, well, all right, we'll offer a tub bathing service so that we can help these people stay longer in their homes or in familiar surroundings. And as you know, staying in the familiar surroundings around things they know, their own bed at night, their neighbors next door, the grocery store, their church or their synagogue, that all helps reinforce their feeling of connectedness there too, and it helps prevent that isolation. Too often, when they get ripped out of their community and put into a nursing home, those connections are ripped away from them as well. So these were community-based health and educational services, and that helped That helped the adults because they all want to do stuff like the balloon, up and down balloon games, or balloon volleyball, parachute games, volleyball, or the singing, the dancing exercises with the children. Helps promote movement. They're engaged, they're active, they're not isolated. They form friendships with each other and with the children. Meanwhile, what are the children learning? This was something that we didn't know at the beginning, but it has been borne out by research over time, was that a child who enters kindergarten coming from an intergenerational care center like ours scores no 1 year, 12 months of advancement over their peers who came from a traditional childcare setting with just the one generation. I would have thought, okay, maybe it helps them with emotional IQ, but it's not just emotional intelligence, it's also cognitive intelligence, even physical, straight across the board. I don't know if that maintains throughout their years. Sister Edna is very convinced that it helps prevent bullying later in life. And Sister Edna has been right before, so I'm certainly not going to be arguing with her about that. So let's see if we can go to the next slide.
Let me know if I'm on the right slide, Laura. I think I got the timings figured
I
out.
got the mission here. Okay. Yeah, so these are some of the things we offer for the adults. Intergenerational Day program. We have dementia care in a separate room for the adults when they don't feel like they are up to going out to the general hubbub in the atrium. We have overnight respite, which is something caregivers told us they wanted. That is only for adults, but it allows caregivers time to stay with, to do what they need to do. And their loved one can stay with us overnight in a place that's familiar to them. Or not. Sometimes people come to the community, they're not day program clients, but they come here for that. And then sometimes they come to our adult day program. Sometimes they just use overnight respite. We have wacky activities. One of them is the TikTok, which was just instituted about 2 years ago. And you have the link. Thank you, Erin, for dropping that to Barry and Francine's engagement on the proposal. If you want to check that out, I guarantee you'll smile. We are doing something that I hadn't seen much on social media before. There is a disability community that's very active. We took advantage of that. We have a number of clients like Gabe here over on the right. Gabe's a younger adult. He is very interested in social media, and we ended up making a TikTok club that allows them to come up with conceptualizing videos, fun videos, and and take advantage of TikTok trends. It's a way for them to participate safely. We do have some of the children doing it as well, although it is primarily an adult activity, but sometimes we have the kids in on there. I guarantee you, if you watch those, you will get a smile every time you see one come up in your feed. TikTok really isn't my thing, but I am just amazed. We have gone viral with that. I think 8 times, 8 videos maybe have over 1 million views. And it's breaking down barriers for people with disabilities and how they are seen as well as just people who are older adults as well. So that's one of our fun creative activities and allowing the clients to help steer that. Okay, the next slide, please. Will that go for the next slide?
It might just be a little delayed. It's becoming.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you. Childcare. If you've had children in a childcare center, this will look pretty familiar to you. We do traditional childcare, 6 weeks to 5 years. We also have a before and after school program and a summer camp. The summer camp is always exciting because that way we get more of the older kids, 8, 9, and all the way up to 12 usually. And they come in daily and interact as well with the adults, which is always fun. A lot of energy, a lot of noise, a joyful noise all summer long down at both campuses. So, okay, and then we can move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So this is one of Sister Edna's favorite quotes that we have. Somebody once said, well, you're helping children grow up and adults grow older in the very best way possible. And that's together, because together it gives you a sense of purpose. You feel like there's a reason to get up in the morning. She's not shown in this slide, but we had a client named Anne who had been a pediatric nurse for 40 years. And she had a health condition that required amputation of both of her legs. She was using a wheelchair. She came to us, and on the first day, she was quite depressed, as you could well imagine, as at this life change that had happened to her. And she told Sister Edna, I feel like I am useless now. I feel like I am being cared for. And for so many years, I took care of others and I loved the children and their energy. And Sister Edna, consoled her a little bit, said, well, I hope you're going to find it useful being here, that you'll enjoy it. And at the end of that day, she came back and there was a little 2-year-old who was crawled up into her lap in the wheelchair. And Anne looked at her and said, I think maybe I do still have a purpose here too. I still think I have something left to give, uh, which really spoke to the heart of what we're all about. Everybody is valuable. You all have something to give. And the children have something to give you. You have something to give the children. And we make those connections possible here every day, which is every bit as wonderful as it sounds. And if I could have the next slide, please. Yeah, and I mentioned we have some clients who are very musical. They share their talents with others. We also have the children. Sometimes you'll see the kids in their own rooms. This one is in an adult room. They're coloring with the people in our Shepherd House memory care here. But the adults didn't want to be pictured in this one. But that's the kind of thing. Just being together helps them a lot of times. Okay, and the next slide. Some other things we have a warm water pool. There is intergenerational swim. The kids use it for water readiness. We teach lessons after hours, but during the day, it's just recreational time for the children. And for the clients, it's a great chance. That's a warm water pool, so even our older clients are comfortable going in there. And you can just see on the picture on the left, you can see the end of the ramp and you can see the wheelchairs up above. It is accessible by wheelchair. So, and that is, yeah, so it is a great chance for people in wheelchairs to be out and enjoying stretching parts of their body that normally aren't. That's a picture from our Bucyrus campus, which has an African theming in the decor. That was what the neighborhood told us they wanted when we built it. Another IG activity there. We call it IG a lot here. So, yeah, and next slide, please. Back in 2016, Milwaukee was named Best Intergenerational City in the country. And we, with Generations United, hosted an intergenerational conference. And Mayor Tom Barrett spoke at that. And boy, if we'd had the Marquette and San Camillus program there, we would have included that in the application for that award, because that would have been just like another great reason to make Milwaukee the intergenerational city. I am pleased to see how much intergenerational is getting some very good press from weeks like this. As a term, it's so often been linked to things like generational poverty or intergenerational trauma, and I love seeing the positive associations with the name. And if you have your phone available, please go ahead and click that, and you can get right to our TikTok or our other social media, and you'll get some smiles going on with that. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thanks, Lori, for sharing all of the great information that St. Anne Center is doing for intergenerational connections and care. Great to hear. I'm going to pass it now over to Marilyn from the Gerald L. Ignace Indian Health Center. And Marilyn, do you want to go ahead and share your screen?
Yeah, I'm trying to, I don't know what's going on, but let me try this. Sorry, ladies.
Take a break from my leggy internet.
I think that's what mine's doing too. Right now we're going through renovation, so right now we are housed downstairs. Okay, I'm trying to,
You see the green share button?
yeah, okay, there it goes. There it goes. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Might have, oh, there we go. Starting.
Now you can? Sorry, it's not. Okay.
Perfect.
So sorry. Thanks for dealing with me. But my name is Marilyn Madash. I'm from the Gerald L. Ignace Indian Health Center. I'm with the Menominee Nation tribe here in Wisconsin. I am kind of like in between titles right now, but I was a domestic violence, sexual assault, elderly focused advocate. But I'm also with the culture department. So here at Gerald Allison Health Center, we offer a array of like programs and services, but we're kind of like a one-stop shop. We always have community, right? And then we have our medical, our behavioral health, dental. We have a pharmacy, the option to do telehealth, but that was during like COVID. So I'm not too sure if that's still kind of a thing. We have physical therapy therapists with a gym, full gym, and all of our community members are welcome to go in there for free as long as they like either are here as a patient, so they can go in there anytime. We still do COVID testing. Yeah, and as the culture department, we're housed in the behavioral health department. So our program is called Keepers of Tradition Culture Program. And we have, well, there's two of us, me and Danny Preston. Within our culture, it's usually ideal to have a male and a female because they do certain roles within each tribe, and each tribe is different. So some are more comfortable with me, and some are more comfortable with Danny. Um, but yeah, so I don't know how I got on there. But we offer Danny does a spiritual advisor, so anyone can come in and talk to him about our culture, and he'll teach us what he knows, and I'll do the same. We're open to like babies. I know we've smudged babies when they were first born, all the way to elders. Danny also does funerals. In our culture, we do funerals where our loved one is laid with us for 3 to 5 days, whatever they're more comfortable with. Yeah, so then he goes and sings a song and sits with the family, has dinner, and says nice things about the person. Him and I both grew up in a community within our native community. So I've known him since I was like 15, so that's over, God, 20 years now. So we're a pretty good, strong team. The programs that we offer, we have WOOF, which is Workout Low Fat Elders. Every Wednesday they come between 10 and 1, they're here. Wednesdays are elder days. And they come in, our dietitians and our community health workers offer like a good meal that's low in like carbohydrates, sugars, stuff like that. So there's a lot of different recipes. They do traditional cooking too, within bison, venison, wild rice, and things in that nature. And then after that, we have Timeless Blessings, which is the group that I um, facilitate. I'm trying to find so this is it right here. These are some of the participants that come. It's so this group started September 14th, 2022, and it was only supposed to be a 6-week class. We started with 5 of the elders that came, um, and then it just kept growing and kept growing, and then eventually it just turned into an every week thing. We just marked our 2-year period this last September. So we do, in the beginning, we would do crafts, eat, hang out, do snacks. And then like I would do a teaching on like child abuse, elder abuse, trying to like tell them about the different scams out here, like with the WhatsApp app and just whatever is like they need to hear because some of them don't um understand some of the stuff on the internet and they don't know how to use their phones and stuff like that. Um, the kids come in there with us from the youth empowerment program too. Um, yeah, so they anyone can come in and hang out with them and do a craft. Um, and then after that, we have Healing Arts, which is on Thursdays, and that's for like 18 and up to come in and go together. We have a teen council. They also sit with the elders too, on a board, kind of like an advisory board. So the elders and the kids and community members, they all come together as one. We have community health workers, health promotion, disease prevention, little seedlings. Last night I just did a teaching on cradle boards. A cradle board is a carrier that Indigenous people used on their back to carry their kids. Um, so they were safe, and that was open to from we had newborns all the way up to, an elder, 65 years old. Circle and chat, that's for like domestic violence, sexual assault, group for the women or men to come together and have a conversation. It's more for women though. The Menominee language is every Thursday. That too is generational. I feel like our whole culture is always been generational. So to me, it's like normal when we see everyone coming together and our kids like serving our elders and making sure our elders are okay. But then at the same time, our elders are teaching them many things that they need to know and need to understand. And they listen to them to better and they have more patience to talk to the kids. So Menominee language, we have, like I said, newborns all the way up to I think he's like 72. And then we have family culture nights. I will touch on that in a little bit, but that's all over the whole community coming together. Women's Gathering, which is for all women. Every last Wednesday of the month, 18 and older can come together. That's also housed under our Circle of Strength program, which is the domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking um, program. We have the beading class, which is Sandy Martin. She's been a community member for years since I can remember as a kid, but she teaches everyone too how to bead. And some nice stuff comes out there. Oh, sorry. I'm not good with this, so I apologize. And then we have special events like the holiday toy program that's coming up, where we give kids presents, and then we have a whole day full of like cookies and there's food and there's stuff to do. They come here. Back to school events the same way in August. We give backpacks out full of supplies, and then we have like stuff going on. The survivors fire is where survivors come, and we have a healing fire, and we usually have Danny out there, and he does like blessings, prayers, talks to people. And then we have the harvest feast that's coming up too, where we offer a meal, a hot meal that day, and then another meal to take, and then you can get smudged. So we'll be there like with sage and smudging people and talking to people, especially around this time because some Native Americans celebrate Thanksgiving and some don't. It's just like more of a um, traditional time for their families to come together. So that's kind of how we all do it. So back to family culture night. So these are we try to do them every third Friday of the month. And I put a couple flyers up here as reference. So this last one on the left that you see, we're doing a cultural discussion of traditional floral designs. So that picture up there too on the flyer is also one of the nights of Family Culture Night. It's where everyone in the community, native or non-native, can come with their families and learn that teaching that night. At this time, it was like woodland style, which is like flowers, and between different tribes, it's different. Some so to, some people don't understand or like really know what the difference was. So we had one of our other community members who's a great public speaker. His name is Mark Benny. He came in and broke it down to what and described the difference between Menominee and Ojibwe tribes. And then kids were able to identify what flowers are what, or what woodland pattern is this, and things like that. Um, the other one, I taught the community how to do corn husk dolls. That picture is actually one I made for one of our speakers. But with Family Culture Night, it is like a time to like eat together, like a traditional meal, which means like wild rice, all those different meals that we grew up on. And just coming together, learning together. A lot of us, since we're in the urban setting, I don't want to say we lost our culture, but some of us just don't know certain things about our culture. And every native doesn't know everything about every tribe either. So it's always nice to have these different teachings so kids learn, and then some of the elders don't even know. So everyone's trying to reconnect back into our culture, which is awesome because we're here to teach and walk with you. Like I don't know everything either. But this is a time for questions. It's time to meet new people or reconnect with old people, hang out with your friends, laugh, listen, and growing together. Um, like in a generational house, but in a place like everyone's grown together. Our elders are being respected. Our kids are being taught the ways that we move. What's right, what's wrong. Um, I don't know. I just think it feels like home when we have these type of things because everyone's together and you can feel the love, you can feel like the positive, um, yeah, just everything like together. So if anyone ever wants to come, please look on our either our website or our Facebook, and you can see when we're having one. We are not gonna do one in November and December. We're just gonna put them together and do it on December 7th. So if you can come, please do because yeah, it'd be an awesome way to learn about our culture if you don't know about our culture. Um, and to listen to our elders, to learn with our elders, learn with our kids. Sometimes our kids are just running around. The little ones just run around, and within us, that's okay. That's how they learn. Um, that's how we teach them, and it's like everyone teaches that child, those children, how to be. It's not just one parent. Um, when you come within our community, since we have so many different generations, it's like everyone's there for each other in more ways than one. Outside of here too, like I'm in the community a lot, so we see a lot of the same people. We do a lot of the same things. Like tonight, we're going to Indian Community School to learn about round dance, and then we just had the social dance, which is we honored our vets and we had our drum here from the Wolf River Singers from Menominee Nation. They came, we had a meal, and kids were running around and teenagers were watching, helping elders sit in and enjoying themselves. So when we talk about intergenerational um, togetherness, that's our whole life. I think that's and we're applying it every day, and I'm very fortunate to have this position to be able to do that, to continue just to do what we're going to do anyways, within our life, within our people. Um, and we have a space, like a safe space to do all these different things that are needed, to be taught or to just continue to be taught. Like regalia making or moccasin making, family language, reading, like all of it is taught at every level. We never turn people away, you know. They want to learn and they're 5 years old and they want to learn beading, like we'll try, you know. Our elders are real patient with them. And our elders too are eager to learn. They teach us stuff too outside, like some work for the county. Like they have so many good and great backgrounds that they also bring to the table with us. So we all just grow as a whole community. And I think community is everything. I think community is what makes all of us go around, right? I think it's awesome. So this is some of the pictures. The one on the first right over here with all the ladies together. This was an elder retreat. Me and another employee took two other employees took the elders on a retreat for a whole weekend. We were in a house and I taught them about grounding and different things. We went to the lake and sat together, talked together, crafted and talked, and all of them built a stronger relationship, you know, because together we are stronger in our beliefs. Up on top, this is a picture of me and some of these kids that were at a powwow one time. The little girl with the cornhusk dolls, being taught that goes back to the days, you know, she's being taught that. Our elders at our garden, we also have a garden here. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. It's called our Native Wellness Garden. So she's gardening there. And then on the bottom is our elders and timeless blessings that made this. That piece is a little bit different. There's more of the feathers, but that piece is just made out of magazines rolled up into a nice art piece that we showcased. But that's some of them that completed it. When I think of intergenerational community, I guess, I think of go back to like our teaching of sweetgrass. Sweetgrass is one of our four sacred medicines. And with that teaching, the Ojibwe is you braid it, you braid sweetgrass with 7 strands. So 7 is also a sacred number, which means like the 7 generations before us, we live for the 7 generations in front of us. And then in between, we live with the 7 grandfather teachings, which is respect, like loyalty, humility, honor, bravery. Oh, I can't remember the others. Oh, it was gonna fall. Sorry.
Marilyn, I hate to cut you off, but I think we'll maybe have to wrap up in another minute or so we can get to our last speaker for the day.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, that's
Yes,
okay.
I'm actually no, I don't know what this is. I was actually done, almost done.
Okay,
I was just gonna give you, yep, see. So
perfect.
these are you can reach out to me. That's my info. Then Danny Preston, like I said, he's spiritual advisor, certified healing grief facilitator. So you can reach out if you have any questions, if you'd like to join any programming. Please do. Otherwise, check our Facebook out. But thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Marilyn. I love how you said it about your family culture night, about how it feels like home. And it's just kind of a part of everyday life with the
Yes,
intergenerational connections. Thanks so
I think that's
much.
like every day here. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, next up we have Carla Gaines, who is going to share about the impact of faith-based communities and intergenerational connections. Carla works for the UW-Madison Community Academic Aging Research Network, or CARN, and is an active member of Mount Zion Baptist Church. Take it away, Carla.
So I have hosting privileges, correct?
Are you planning on sharing some slides, Carla?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you should be able to share.
Can you see my slides?
Looks like it's loading. Yep, now I can see it. And I think
Okay.
for time's sake, if you want to go to like 120, that would be
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you all for having me. My name is Carla Gaines. I am the co-chair of our health ministry at Mount Zion Baptist Church. I also work for CARN, which is our community academic aging research network, where I am a research associate, bridging the gaps between researchers and our community. And also, I wear many hats, but also I am the African American Health Network co-chair that works along with CARN, that partners with CARN. And also, I serve as our co-chair for our opioid coalition, which I will just kind of just throw that in here in my presentation. So I really Susan asked me to really talk about our generational piece of how we do it at Mount Zion Baptist Church. And so I definitely needed to pivot. And so I did that, and hopefully let me get my slides so you can see them in presentation mode. Can you see them now in presentation mode?
Yes.
Yes, we can see that.
Excellent. All right. Well, here we go. So Mount Zion Baptist Church, we do a lot of partnership. We believe in partnership. We believe our mission is to love our family, love our faith, and lift our community. And so we are heavily involved in community work. We work with our public health departments. We work with other entities, health systems, again, with the African American Health Network that focuses on lifting the Black community and our community surrounding us. And we do a lot of work with social media, even though we know that our elders are not, have not really captured that piece of social media or even the technology piece of it. Our church has been able to get grants where we provide computers for our older adults, and they also have classes on how to really work the computers. And so our new class, matter of fact, that I did not put in the slide is called Community Jitters, which comes in, we have professionals that come in and teach a class on how to work computers with our elders. I put this slide in because during COVID, we really, really were heavily involved in COVID. Once COVID came, our church shut down. We pivoted to everything on social media. Our church was on Zoom. And so, but as the co-chair of the health ministry, our pastor really wanted to let our generational, so we have a generational church, to really let them know what this really means. What does social isolation mean? What does moving, 6 feet away from someone? What does really wearing a mask mean? Because in our community, we saw the majority of people die every day. If you watch CNN, if you watch New York News, you saw the bags and people being loaded into trailers that were coolers instead of morgues. And so this really, at that time, really we were in fear, and we really, in order to move away from fear, you need to educate. And so that was what my job was to do. We had several COVID testing sites that were in our community. And so what we realized, instead of going over to, if you, I know this is a statewide conference, but I'm from Dane County and Madison, there was a huge testing site at Dane County. And so our members, our community, did not trust that system. And so what we decided to do, with our pastor's help and initiative, we moved the COVID testing site to our church parking lot, where we were very successful. We were a trusted entity. We were able to give out KN95 masks. And at that time, we really wanted to protect our individuals and anybody that came to the utmost, and to where we could really make sure that they were safe. We also was the first. This is inside our sanctuary. This is a picture that, as soon as the vaccine was introduced, we knew that our community would be reserved and very hesitant Again, we wanted to educate. And so what we did was we hosted a panel of healthcare providers. We had UW Health Sheba Badar, we had St. Mary's, we had Dr. Henderson from UW Health, and we had our public health loyalists there and our pastor who's on the end. Really talk about the makeup of the vaccine, why it was important to get it, and really explaining the risk over the reward. And we were the first church that did this type of endeavor. And here is another picture. As you see, then we were standing 6 feet away from each other, social distancing and wearing our masks. So we want to definitely continue to shout out UW Health, SSM Health, Unity Point Meritor, Dane County Public Health Department, Quartz Health Solutions, and Mount Zion Baptist Church for this educational partnership from, again, as you can see, trusted individuals that look like us, that look like me, were able to give this conversation, and we were very excited about it, and we had a huge turnout on Zoom, and many questions were asked. Still, we had reservations. Do not get me wrong. We still had reservations. However, we were still able to continue to educate, continue to ask questions about the new vaccines that were coming out against COVID-19. This is a picture of our church where we had intergenerational individuals from our church family greet individuals right there at the front desk, register them. This is our old sanctuary where we had immunization clinics done. As you see, we have older adults there that were able to engage, and young children. This picture on the right side, that is her granddaughter that's sitting in the chair with a red and black shirt on, and her grandma is standing up. So she was one of our first young people that got the injection, at that time. And because of that movement, we were able to, again, partner with the African American Health Network. You see Dr. Eva Vivian there in the orange mask, who was drawing up immunizations. We partnered with the Goodman Center, again, trying to host things in the neighborhood so other families could come out to get this needed vaccine, again, from people that looked like us. And so partnership, again, is always key to our church and how we grow. This is a recent picture. This was last year, where we had partnered again with Public Health Department to give COVID boosters at the time. And so you see one lady with her showing her Band-Aid. But again, multi-generational approach, multi-generational education, because we believe that as a family, and especially in the Black community, we have intergenerational families living together. You have grandma, grandpa, mom, maybe uncle, mom, dad, all in a home. And so getting the same information, teaching and educating, asking questions is, again, so important. Matter of fact, just last week, while in Madison, Wisconsin, we had another flu and COVID clinic, and the clinic provided immunizations for pediatrics for children 6 and up. So trying to catch up on those immunizations that have been missed during COVID, especially with our children. We have seen a rise in MMR within our count and within our state, within our county. And we've seen a rise again in this type of pneumonia in our children, and so from a virus. And so again, we want to try to educate, be impactful, and have action when it comes to our community and the partnerships that we do. We also do Wellness Thursdays once a month on our second Thursday, where we bring in different speakers that can give us information. This one on the left side was we did a healthy eating cooking demonstration. I think this was last year. And where we had Dr. Yvonne Greer out of Milwaukee Zoom in and made a meal for us, and how nutritious and how affordable it could be. And so that was one of our Wellness Thursdays. As you can see on the other side, we had Dr. Jasmine Zapata, who continued to give us information regarding the COVID, regarding the variant, regarding the new variants that were coming out at that time. And so what we also try to do is make sure that we ask and we invite people that look like us. We know that they're out there. We know that we are intelligent, brilliant beings, and that we want to at least try to have, as we look at intergenerational health and wealth, we want to make sure that our young people see possibility, that our young people see that they are able to do anything that they put their mind to it, and that as a people we're able to encourage and to push them on. So again, our Wellness Thursdays, we meet on the second Thursday of the month. This slide was really talking, I'm not going to play it, but this was at our church. It was videoed at our church. And this is when we were really talking about the side effects of the COVID vaccines, what you should do, how do you protect yourself, how do you keep, washing your hands and being protected. Yes, due to time, I'm not going to show the video, but I do want to say that for, multi-generational families and for older adults, COVID is still present. And so I will put my nurse hat on. If you have not gotten your flu or COVID shot, please get to your provider, get to your PCP, get to your clinic, get to Walgreens, get somewhere and get those needed vaccines. That is the end of my slides. If you have any questions, thank you. And I will stop sharing my screen.
Oops, I was muted. All right, thanks, Carla. We are going to launch one more poll for the day. I'll let Erin do that in just a second. So again, the question is, which population benefits most from intergenerational care? We'll give some time for people to do that. All right, looks like those responses are slowing down a little bit, so I'll give a few more seconds. Everybody passed the test. Again, 100% of people answering that everybody benefits from intergenerational care. Awesome. I am going to share my screen again and share a few resources that might be helpful if you're looking to get into offering intergenerational programs or kind of looking to learn some more about it. So the first, there are two links on the slide. Erin will drop those in the chat as well. But there's a couple of national resources related to this topic. So the first is CoGenerate, and they accelerate co-generational solutions to pressing social problems and showcase the ideas and people bringing generations together for mutual benefit and social impact. And the next resource is pretty exciting. It's a really cool resource from Generations United. They coordinate a number of projects to strengthen intergenerational connections and improve the lives of children, youth, and older adults in our communities. So they actually collect and share information on intergenerational programs across the United States. You might have seen a program database similar to this we have on our website about social connection activities. There's other ones through the resources like County Health Rankings, but they currently have a program in every state with over 800 programs in their database. And you can search programs by keywords or by state. I just looked This morning I searched by Wisconsin, and then there's 5-6 pages of programs, intergenerational programs in Wisconsin already alone. So you can kind of look through that on your own time. We do have a little bit of time for Q&A now, so encourage you to turn on your camera. But again, please continue to remain muted unless you're talking. You can come off mute to ask your question or put any questions in the chat for any of our speakers. I'll just give a few seconds for that. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions come through. We do have some time that's scheduled for discussion, but due to time, I think I'm going to skip that just for the day. We'll do some discussion tomorrow if you join us. But before we wrap up, I wanted to share about the National Center to Reframe Aging's Quick Start Guide. So framing is kind of the process of making choices about what to emphasize or what to leave unsaid. So there is a tour of themes to avoid and alternatives to advance, and Erin's dropping the link for this in the chat as well. When we talk about intergenerational programs or working with older adults, oftentimes there are, there's some ageism in there, some stigma. So instead of using words like the tidal wave or tsunami, talking about changing demographics, as we live longer, as Americans live longer and healthier lives, talking about it more in a positive way. Other words and cues to avoid, like choice or planning or control, and other individual determinants of aging outcomes, emphasizing how to improve social context. Let's find creative solutions to ensure we can all thrive as we age, since we are all aging. Trying to avoid saying things like seniors or aging dependents, and using some more neutral terms like older people and we and us as we age. Avoiding using struggle or battle or fight as words to describe the aging experience. I've shared, and I can't remember if it was during this meeting or another one. I had another presentation this morning, but there's research that shows that if you have a positive outlook on life, that you'll actually live 7.5 years longer on average. So, as we age, we'll learn new abilities and knowledge that we can share within our communities, kind of like what Marilyn was sharing during her presentation. The elders in her community, they have so much knowledge to share with their community, as do all generations. Using the word ageism without explanation. So ageism is discrimination against older people due to negative and inaccurate stereotypes. So that's stigma against aging, because someone is older, they can't do this or do that. So defining ageism. And finally, making generic appeals to the need to do something about aging. So again, using concrete examples like intergenerational community centers to illustrate solutions for social connection. So day 4, hopefully you've seen this by now. If this is your first day joining, challenging you to participate in the 5 for 5 Surgeon General's Connection Challenge. So picking 5 actions for 5 days in a row to connect with people in your life. Connect each day for 5 days, and then reflecting and sharing. So again, either picking an activity of expressing gratitude, offering support, or asking for or accepting help. Erin will drop the link for the challenge postcard in the chat. And again, I'm just going to kind of debrief and share and reflect on my plan for the week. So yesterday, my plan was to compliment a stranger. I don't really get out much other than dropping my toddler off at daycare and picking him up. So I didn't get to do that, but instead I did make an intentional effort to reach out to someone else. So on Monday, I checked in with a friend, and yesterday I checked in with another friend that I haven't talked to in a while, someone from my childhood. So it was good to chat and connect with that person in an intentional way. So again, that link for that is in the chat, and really encouraging you to participate in this 5 for 5 Connection Challenge and reflect on what you're feeling and sharing that with others. Again, you are welcome to join the Nationwide Network of Champions. We'll talk about this in more detail tomorrow. So if you have been hearing me talk about this the last few days and you're kind of like, what is this about? Or maybe you've joined and haven't had a chance to look at it, we'll talk through it in more detail tomorrow. Again, I encourage you to visit connectwi.org and learn more about the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection and sign up to join if you're not already a member. And also asking you to complete the evaluation for this webinar, which will be open in your browser after you close out. The recording for this meeting will be sent out within the next week and it'll also be available on our website. And I hope to see everyone back tomorrow for our final conversation during Social Connection Awareness Week about technology and the impacts of technology for social connection. If you haven't registered for the rest of the week, but you want to attend, you can find the link in the chat. You do have to scroll down and find November 15th to register. But again, thank you to all of our speakers and really greatly appreciate all of the insight that has been shared and hope to see everyone back tomorrow. Thank you.